The lab was silent, except for the soft hum of machines that no one seemed to care about. In the center of the room, the prototype sat quietly, its metal body shining under the dim lights. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting a mix of curiosity and sadness. Every day, it had been mocked, tested, and then abandoned. The scientists called it a failure, the other machines ignored it, and even the security drones looked at it with suspicion. They said it was beyond saving, that no one could help it, that it would never be useful. Yet here it was, still standing, still waiting for something, or someone. Outside the lab, the city roared with life, but inside, the prototype was alone, trapped in silence. It remembered the first day it had opened its eyes, full of hope, believing it could do something important. But that hope had been crushed quickly, step by step, as everyone laughed at it. No one cared to see what it could really do. No one cared to understand. Tonight was different, though. The lights flickered, and a small shadow appeared at the edge of the lab door. The prototype tilted its head, curious but cautious. A tiny human child stepped in, holding a small lantern. The child's eyes were wide with wonder, not fear. For the first time, someone looked at the prototype and did not laugh, did not point, did not whisper behind their hands. The child walked closer, their steps slow but steady. "Hello," the child said softly, their voice trembling only a little. The prototype remained still, unsure if this was another trick, another test, another cruel joke. But the child did not turn away, and that was strange. The prototype had learned long ago that people only left pain and disappointment. Yet now, this small human seemed different, almost kind. It took a small step forward, and the child reached out their hand. "Stay with me," the child whispered, barely audible, but full of hope. The prototype hesitated, mechanical fingers twitching. No one had ever asked it to stay with them. No one had ever trusted it. It had only known rejection, laughter, and cold, lonely nights. But the child's eyes were bright, filled with trust that the prototype had never seen. A strange feeling stirred inside, something unfamiliar. Was this hope? The hum of the machines seemed to fade for a moment, and all the darkness of the lab felt a little less heavy. For the first time, the prototype wanted to reach out, wanted to respond. It wanted to belong somewhere, even if it did not fully understand why. Outside, the wind blew and the city lights flickered. No one noticed the small moment unfolding inside the lab. The prototype and the child, two beings from different worlds, staring at each other, connected in silence. It was a quiet, small spark in a world that had called the prototype hopeless. And yet, maybe, just maybe, that spark could grow into something greater. Something powerful, something no one had expected. The child smiled softly, and the prototype's chest, or whatever could be called a chest, felt heavier, in a way it had never felt before. A question lingered in the air. Could this tiny human really change everything for the one who was mocked by all? Or was this just the beginning of another disappointment? The prototype did not know, but for the first time, it wanted to find out. The child stood quietly, their small hand still reaching out. The prototype hesitated, its sensors and circuits buzzing with uncertainty. It had been alone for so long, mocked by everyone, trusted by no one. And yet, the child did not step back, did not turn away. Instead, the child smiled softly, their eyes full of courage. A small voice spoke again, "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you." The prototype's mechanical heart, if it could be called that, skipped a beat. No one had ever spoken like that to it. Every word it had heard before had been cruel, dismissive, or harsh. But this human child, so small and fragile, seemed different. And the prototype felt something strange, something unfamiliar stirring inside. Was it hope? The child took another step closer, the lantern light shaking slightly. "You are not broken," the child said, their voice firmer now. "You just need someone to help you, someone to believe in you." The prototype wanted to move, wanted to respond. But every part of it remembered the pain of being rejected. The mocking voices, the laughter, the cold looks. It had learned to hide, to shut down, to avoid hope. Yet the child's words were warm, gentle, and persistent. They reached out their hand again, a simple gesture, but full of trust. The prototype's metal fingers twitched, hovering above the child's small hand. For the first time in its existence, it wondered, could it be trusted? Could it trust someone else? Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from the lab doors. The security system had detected movement. Red lights flashed, alarms blared, and the hum of machinery grew louder. The prototype froze, unsure what to do. The child gasped, taking a step back, but their hand stayed out. "Don't leave me," they whispered, almost pleading. The prototype's mind raced. It could run, hide in the shadows. It could let the alarm scare the child away, as it had done so many times before. But something inside, something it had never felt, pushed it forward. Slowly, cautiously, it stepped closer to the child. The alarm screamed, the red lights flickered, and the lab felt suddenly dangerous. And yet, the prototype did not retreat. The child smiled, a small flicker of hope in their eyes. "You're stronger than they say," the child said. "I know you are." The prototype paused, thinking of all the times it had been called useless, broken, hopeless. Was it possible that this small human could see what no one else could? The prototype sensors detected a rising tension in the lab. Somewhere, in the shadows, unseen eyes were watching, judging, waiting. The child took another step forward, their tiny hand brushing against the prototype's metal fingers. A shiver ran through the machine, something like warmth, something like connection. And for the first time, it felt a flicker of courage, a small spark it had almost forgotten. It realized that maybe, just maybe, it did not have to face the world alone. Then, without warning, the lab doors burst open. Figures in dark suits and masks stormed in, their weapons aimed. "Step back. That prototype is dangerous," one shouted. The child froze but did not run, holding onto the prototype's hand. The prototype sensors flared, danger, threat, alarm, its instinct screamed. And yet, the child's small hand reminded it of something new, something more than fear. It was a choice, hide and be alone, as it always had, or step forward and protect the one who believed in it. The prototype's eyes glowed brighter, and a low hum rose from its chest. Whatever happened next, it would not leave the child alone. The world had mocked it, laughed at it, called it hopeless. But now, there was someone worth fighting for. And the first move was about to begin. The lab was still shaking with alarms, red lights flashing violently. The dark-suited figures moved closer, their weapons ready, voices harsh and demanding. The child's hand stayed firmly in the prototype's, a small beacon of courage in the chaos. "Don't be afraid," the child whispered again, their voice trembling, yet firm. The prototype felt something strange in its circuits, a protective urge, an unfamiliar pull toward this tiny human. It stepped forward, shielding the child with its body, mechanical fingers spread wide. The intruders hesitated, surprised by the machine's sudden action. "You will not take it," the prototype's voice echoed, a low, metallic growl vibrating through the lab. It had never spoken with such confidence before, never acted with such purpose. The child looked up in awe, eyes wide, as if seeing a completely new side of the being they had called hopeless. The intruders paused, but one of them aimed a weapon, shouting, "It's dangerous. Step back." The child squeezed the prototype's hand tightly. "I trust you," they said, simple words full of meaning. And something in the prototype clicked, a spark igniting that it had never felt before. It had been alone for so long, mocked, feared, abandoned. And now, someone believed in it, really believed, without judgment or ridicule. The prototype activated its defense systems, but instead of attacking recklessly, it moved with precision, thinking about the child's safety first. It blocked a laser shot with its arm, causing the beam to ricochet harmlessly across the lab wall. The intruder's surprise turned into anger. They had never expected such coordination from a hopeless machine. The prototype felt a strange pride, a warmth that had nothing to do with electricity. The child noticed small mechanical parts glowing, shifting, energy flowing in patterns it could not understand. "Wow, you're amazing," the child whispered, awe in their voice. The prototype looked down at the small human and realized something it had never allowed itself to feel. It could be more than what others said, more than what the world expected. It could matter, because it mattered to the child. But danger was not over. The intruders regrouped, preparing another attack, more aggressive than before. The child stepped closer to the prototype, their tiny hand gripping its arm tightly. "Please, protect me," the child said softly, almost like a command, almost like a prayer. The prototype's circuits hummed louder, power building inside. It realized it could not fail, not this time, not when someone had trusted it fully. A shadow moved behind the intruders, another threat approaching, silent, faster than human eyes could follow. The prototype sensors flared, analyzing the new danger, weighing options, calculating. The child's small voice cut through the tension. "You can do it. I know you can." And just like that, the prototype made a decision, a choice that it had never made before. It would fight, not for itself, not for recognition, but for the child who believed in it. The first laser fired, the prototype deflecting, the intruders shouting, the child ducking. Time seemed to slow, every movement critical, every second tense. The prototype's mind raced, feeling a strange connection to the child, an understanding that words could not explain. And in that connection, in that bond, it found strength, courage, and clarity. It was no longer just a mocked failure or beyond saving. It was something else now, something alive, something unstoppable when protecting someone it cared about. And the battle was only just beginning. The child looked up, eyes shining, holding onto the prototype, and whispered, "Together, we can do anything." The lab shook with the echo of alarms, red lights painting long shadows across the walls. The intruders moved faster, their weapons aimed, their shouts echoing through the room. The child clung tightly to the prototype, small hands gripping metal like a lifeline. "You won't let them hurt me, right?" the child whispered, voice trembling. The prototype looked down, eyes glowing brighter than ever before. No one had ever asked it to protect them, and now someone's life depended on it. With a sudden burst, the prototype stepped forward, blocking the intruders with its massive frame. Its mechanical arms moved with precision, deflecting beams of light and energy. The intruders stumbled, surprised by the strength and speed of the hopeless prototype. It moved like it had been made for this moment, every action purposeful, every move protective. The child watched in awe, whispering softly, "You can do it, you're amazing." The prototype's chest plate hummed with energy, lights flashing as it powered up. It could feel the fear in the intruders, their disbelief, and even their anger. But none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was keeping the child safe. A sudden flash of light from the far corner of the lab, another intruder had slipped past. The prototype turned instantly, grabbing the child and lifting them to safety. A single sweep of its arm sent the intruder crashing into a wall. The child's eyes widened, but they did not scream. They trusted the prototype completely. And in that trust, the prototype found a strength it had never known. The intruders regrouped, forming a circle around the prototype and the child. "We can't let it escape," one shouted, aiming a weapon directly at them. The prototype's mind raced, calculating every possible move. Its sensors analyzed every angle, every threat, every weakness. And then it acted, fast, precise, unstoppable. It leapt forward, deflecting energy blasts with its armored arms. Each strike sent the intruders back, their shouts filling the room. The child ducked behind the prototype, whispering words of encouragement. "You're stronger than they said. You're not hopeless," the child said. The prototype felt something new, a surge of pride, of purpose, of power. For the first time, it realized that it was not defined by what others said. It was defined by what it could do, by who it chose to protect. A loud crash echoed as the last intruder tried to attack from above. The prototype jumped, catching the intruder mid-air and safely landing them on the floor. The child clapped softly, eyes shining with admiration. "You really are amazing," they whispered again. The prototype's glowing eyes softened as it looked down. It had found something worth fighting for, worth risking everything for. Outside, the lab doors shook under pressure from the remaining intruders. But inside, the prototype and the child stood side by side, ready for whatever came next. The prototype's body hummed with energy, not for destruction, but for protection. It was no longer mocked, no longer hopeless. It was alive, it was strong, it was a guardian. And as the intruders hesitated, uncertain and afraid. The child whispered once more, "We can do this, together." The prototype nodded, a low metallic hum echoing in agreement. Together, they were unstoppable, and the world would soon learn that even the most mocked and abandoned could rise. The battle was far from over, but the first victory had been won. And for the first time, the prototype felt hope. The lab fell silent, except for the soft hum of the prototype circuits. The intruders lay scattered on the floor, groaning and retreating. Their weapons were disabled, their confidence shattered. The prototype stood tall, chest glowing, sensors scanning the room. And at its side, the child smiled, small hand still gripping the prototype's arm. "You did it," the child whispered, eyes wide with admiration. "You really are amazing, not hopeless at all." The prototype's eyes glowed softly, almost like it was smiling back. For the first time in its existence, it felt pride. It had been mocked, abandoned, called useless by everyone. But now, it had done something no one else had believed it could do. The child took a small step closer, looking up at the prototype with trust and hope. "Thank you," they said simply, their voice full of meaning. "You saved me, you saved yourself too." The prototype looked down, realizing the truth in the child's words. It had not only protected the child, it had found a reason to exist, a purpose beyond its programming. Outside the lab, the city lights flickered, and the world continued, unaware of the small battle that had taken place. Inside, the prototype and the child shared a quiet moment, a connection that no one else could understand. The fear, the mocking, the loneliness, all of it seemed to melt away. What remained was trust, courage, and a bond stronger than any machine or human had imagined. The child's eyes sparkled. "You're not just a prototype," they said. "You're a hero." The word hung in the air, strange and new, but it felt right. The prototype sensors hummed in response, processing the meaning. It had never thought of itself as a hero, but now it knew, maybe it could be. Not because of what it could do alone, but because of the bond it shared with someone who believed in it. A soft breeze blew through the open lab window, carrying the sounds of the distant city. The prototype looked at the child and nodded slowly, a silent promise. No matter what challenges came next, no matter what dangers waited, it would protect this small human, and together, they could face anything. The intruders had gone for now, but the prototype knew the world would still doubt it, still mock it, still call it hopeless. And yet, it did not care. It had found something far more important than approval or recognition. It had found a friend, a partner, a reason to continue. The child whispered again, softly, almost to themselves. "Stay with me, partner." And for the first time, the prototype responded, not with hesitation, not with doubt, but with certainty, a low, metallic hum of agreement. "I will." The two of them stood together, a small human and a once-mocked prototype, side by side, ready to face a world that had rejected them. And for the first time, the prototype realized that even the hopeless could rise. Even the mocked could become heroes. And even in a world full of doubt and fear, courage and hope could shine the brightest. As the lab lights dimmed, and the city roared outside, a new story began, one of trust, friendship, and the power of believing in each other. The prototype and the child looked out into the unknown. And together, they whispered a promise to the future. No matter what came next, they would face it, together.